This is Ophelia, painted in 1852 by John Everett Millais. Who is Ophelia? How did the fate of Ophelia connect to the fate of the model who portrayed her? And how does it all go back to a 1569 coroner's report? Ophelia, one of the more intriguing characters in William Shakespeare's Hamlet, is the daughter of Polonius and the sister of Laertes. She is a noble young woman in the Danish court. Hamlet and Ophelia fall in love, just for Hamlet to dump her a few acts later. Hamlet, wondering whether to be or not to be a dickhead, tells her, "Just kidding, I don't love you, never did. Oh, and for funsies, we'll kill your father." Ophelia is left grieving and emotionally shattered, further wounded by Hamlet's rejection and manipulation. Overcome by this combination of loss and confusion, she descends into madness. Her death, drowning while gathering flowers by a river, exists on the edge of suicide, suggesting a surrender rather than a deliberate act, as she appears to let the water take her without resistance. John Everett Millais draws from this story to create this unique piece. Ophelia appears after the crucial moment of deciding whether to save herself or let the river take her in. She is wearing an ornate, silver-embroidered gown that spreads out beneath her in the water. It seems heavy, as if threatening to pull her down. The fabric glimmers softly, catching light. Her face is pale. Her lips are parted as if mid-song or exhaling her final breath. Her eyes are open but unfocused. Around her, the riverbank is overwhelmingly detailed. Every inch of the canvas is alive with plants, flowers, tangled branches, and dense greenery. The foliage crowds the frame, and for those who understand nature and its cycles, the blooming of the flowers corresponds with a few different times in nature's cycles. Roses floating near her cheek, these directly reference Laertes calling her Rose of May. The violets, pointing to a late spring, early summer timeline. The purple loosestrife blooms in the upper right, signifying the long purples mentioned in the play, which typically bloom in early to midsummer. The drooping willow branches represent forsaken love, because why not? Bring it on again, editor! The water crowfoot. These appear in the foreground, often blooming in spring and summer. You can see they are all blooming at once here. And other than the symbolic reasoning previously mentioned, another reason is that Millais actually spent a few months between spring to late summer painting out in the countryside all of the vegetation for the painting before settling back in the studio to paint Ophelia. In other words, Millais painted the background of the painting first instead of the subject, which was an interesting choice.
I like eating my crust first, too.
The horizontal composition keeps bringing us back to Ophelia's face and hands and the triangle they create. Her arms are open and slightly raised, palms upward, as if she is offering herself. Her fingers are relaxed, not grasping at anything. This pose is often described as Christ-like or resembling traditional portrayals of saints and martyrs, or of Mary in early Christian scenes. It was fairly common in catacombs. It symbolized the openness of the soul to God's will. This gesture strengthened the feeling that Ophelia, in her final moments, accepted and greeted her upcoming fate. Millais not only chose a saint-like posture to depict Ophelia's doom, but also to display her innocence. To best understand this, we need to take a look into Victorian society's outlook on working women. Victorian society looked down on working women. They especially disapproved of female models and artists. Warnings about their lifestyles appeared in many works of that time. They were depicted as lost, fallen from grace, women that usually experienced tragic ends, of falling from high spots and drowning in polluted, filthy city rivers. The similarities Millais saw between those women and the Ophelia depicted in Hamlet are seen very clearly in this painting. But the twist is the way Millais chose to display Ophelia. He is taking an almost feminist approach, displaying Ophelia as a saint, innocence-filled. She is almost holy in her white, weightless gown. Daisies near her hand are a symbol of innocence as well. Lastly, Millais chose to paint the water as clean water, a countryside stream, in contrast with the polluted city river in previous depictions. The details of the vegetation and botanical accuracy are in line with the Pre-Raphaelite naturalism movement Millais was a part of. So, who was Millais, you ask?
We didn't ask.
John Everett Millais was one of the most technically gifted painters of Victorian England. A child prodigy, he entered the Royal Academy of Arts at just 11 years old, the youngest student in its history.
I was burning ants with a magnifying glass at 11.
Early in his career, he helped found the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood, aiming to bring intense realism and intricate detail back into painting by looking to nature and early Renaissance art. To achieve this realism in his painting, Millais spent 5 months in Hogsmill River in Surrey, painting the flowers in this work. Then, in the winter, in his studio, he had a young poet and painter named Elizabeth Siddal model for him. Siddal spent hours laying in a bath as Millais' easel and canvas were positioned nearby. As Millais was absorbed in painting the details of her watered-down hair, dress, and flowers, he failed to notice the oil lamps that were lit to keep her bath warm were spent. The bath was now cold. Siddal was the first pioneer to withstand an ice bath.
Pretend like you're losing it!
I am, for fuck's sake, I am! Siddal contracted a cold that turned into pneumonia and almost cost her her life, which Millais, of course, was blamed for. Siddal's father threatened to sue Millais and had him pay the medical costs. But, as you will come to learn, that was the least of Siddal's problems. The signs of Siddal's tragic fate were all in this painting. Trigger warning. The following section contains material that may be harmful or traumatizing for redheads. Elizabeth Siddal was born in London on July 25, 1829. She was one of 8 children and was named after her mother. She was known as Lizzie. Lizzie was working at a milliner's shop in Leicester Square in central London to help the family financially. A chance encounter between Siddal and Walter Deverell, a member of the Pre-Raphaelites Brotherhood, brought her to their attention. Her beauty was far from the beauty standard of her time. Her bony body and boyish face structure, as well as her coppery hair, were not the Victorian standard that rather admired fuller bodies, gentle features, and generally people who are not going to hell. Before redheads were scientifically found to need more anesthesia at the dentist, they were seen as immoral, having fiery tempers, and even believed to be associated with witchcraft. The Pre-Raphaelites Brotherhood were infatuated with her red hair, and simply were fine ignoring the fact that she was doomed to fall into the abyss with the devil one day. For those reasons exactly, the Brotherhood found Siddal fascinating, and artists such as John Everett Millais, William Holman Hunt, and Dante Gabriel Rossetti had her model for their paintings. At first, she modeled for them all, but then a jealous Dante Gabriel Rossetti requested that she sit only for him. Lizzie, from a model, became his pupil and then fiancée. It was a tumultuous love affair, consisting of a 10-year-long engagement in which the couple broke up and got back together. Rossetti, a known ladies' man, couldn't keep his paintbrush in his pants, a fact that Lizzie was well aware of and did not help her mental and physical health. Ill and frustrated from the relationship, Lizzie became addicted to the drug laudanum. But worry not. When they did eventually get married, it was the happy rom-com ending that we all wanted. Just kidding. Within 2 years of marriage, Lizzie was dead. Soon after their marriage, Lizzie found out she was pregnant. Rossetti continued to paint her in his paintings. Lizzie was excited to become a mother, but unfortunately, her addiction to laudanum persisted, a fact that may have contributed to her, on May 2nd, giving birth to a stillborn daughter. Lizzie fell into a deep depression and never got over the loss of her daughter. Their marriage was on the rocks, with Lizzie believing Rossetti was unfaithful to her. In the end of 1861, Lizzie became pregnant again. On February 10th, 1862, Rossetti found Lizzie sleeping deeply, unable to wake. The bottle of laudanum was empty by her side. Lizzie had overdosed. Initially, the death was ruled accidental, but years later, according to Rossetti's account, she wrote him a suicide note. Despite efforts to save her, Lizzie died a few hours later in the early hours of February 11th. In fear of Lizzie being denied a Christian burial on the cause of suicide, Rossetti burned the suicide note, and we will never know its contents.
That's it? She crashed? What a shitty story. Rest in peace.
Not exactly. You see, in a twist of horrifying events, together with Lizzie's body, Rossetti placed in her coffin the only copy of her poems and the poems he wrote about her. And then he decided he wanted them back.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he fucking did. In the dead of night in 1869, Rossetti exhumed her body. Rossetti's friends and family considered him to be insane at that point. The operation was done by a close friend and, may I say, a crook, Charles Augustus Howell. The cemetery did not have lights, so a fire was built to illuminate the grave. When Howell returned, he told Rossetti that when the coffin was opened, his wife's body was beautifully preserved. She was as beautiful as she had been in life, with her hair growing to fill the coffin with a brilliant copper glow, which shone in the firelight. To this day, many people from around the world strangely believe that Lizzie remains undead.
Stephanie Myers has nothing on Lizzie.
Now let's go back to the painting and take a specific look into the flowers surrounding Ophelia. To Ophelia's side, we see red poppy flowers. The red poppy flower is almost a foreshadowing of the upcoming death of Ophelia. Furthermore, oddly enough, laudanum, the drug that Lizzie was addicted to, is derived from poppies, the same drug that ultimately killed her. What a cruel coincidence. And as a side note, please don't associate me with either of those things. I'm a different kind of poppy. The yellow flower located to the left of the red poppy has been identified as a marsh marigold. Now here is where it gets wild. A coroner's report from 1569 Tudor England, originally written in Latin, describes the death of a 2.5-year-old who drowned picking marigolds in a stream beside a mill pond. Her name, Jane Shakespeare. The translation of the report records the cause, time, and place. By reason of collecting and holding out certain flowers called yellow bottles, growing on the bank of a certain small channel at Upton, aforesaid called Upton Mill Pond, the same Jane Shakespeare suddenly and by misfortune fell into the same small channel and was drowned in the aforesaid small channel. And thus, the aforesaid flowers were the cause of the death of the aforesaid Jane. The assumption is that Jane was related to William Shakespeare, and she inspired the creation of one of the most famous tragic heroines of literature. Shakespeare was 5 at the time of the tragedy that happened to Jane Shakespeare in 1569, and would not write Hamlet until 40 years later. But academics now believe the girl may have inspired the fate of the author's character, Ophelia. The coroner's report was discovered in 2011 by an Oxford historian, Dr. Stephen Gunn. So Millais couldn't have possibly known that Ophelia's character was based on a little girl falling into the river while looking for marigolds. He also couldn't have known the drug laudanum will be a critical part in the fate of the model who portrays her. Yet, he placed both the poppy and the marigolds right there near her hand. There are so many stories, speculations, and half-truths surrounding Elizabeth Siddal's life and death. What really happened to Elizabeth and her supposed afterlife may never be known, but what is sure is that this infinite painting will hold her secrets, fate, and beauty for many years to come. Tell somebody you hate about us. And remember, kids, hot artists die young. Now get thee to a nunnery, you whore.
Hit the like button and subscribe, you lovely YouTube pet.